Welcome to Screen Quest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined by May Finch.
Hello, hello.
And of course, we have Will Rotondi.
Hey guys.
How are y'all?
Doing good. Just trying to make it through what is unfortunately sweltering August.
Yeah, I'm over it, man. We had like one unseasonably cool day. It broke a record for coolest weather on that day ever because of a front that came through, and it gave me just this little tiny taste of fall. And I was like, yep, you could just park it fall if you want, you know. I know it's not even September, but if you want to just stay, I don't think anyone's gonna complain. I feel you there.
I hear you. How chill are we talking for Florida?
I want to
It's
say
like low 80s, right?
yeah,
Ooh,
but like
that is pretty
in
substantial.
but in the night, like it got down to like high 60s, which was like really odd. Because
Wow.
normally it's a slightly cooler, but like just as sticky like evenings here, where it doesn't feel really pleasant to be outside in the evening. So we'll see.
It's coming so close.
I hope so. Awesome. So I said I would save a little story for you guys. It is it's related to movies as a little warm-up topic here. So
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I'm gonna preface this story by saying that like I am not like a shusher at the movies, right? Like I have a very high tolerance for like the occasional whisper or like whatever, like in the movie theater. So that's my preface to this. So yesterday I went to see Star Wars A New Hope at a local theater called Sunray. It was like 45th anniversary screening, not the original. It was the special edition. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping they were gonna pull some magic and get the OG, but hey, really, really cool. Went with my wife and her uncle, and this guy like sitting next to me was with his like buddy, and I think they had like their kids. And you know, he started kind of like cracking jokes and like talking like right off the bat, and I was like, all right, you know, I'm just maybe he'll like settle into the movie, like he's excited. And it just for 20 minutes it like persisted, like constant, like I'm talking like MST3K like commentary, and a lot of it was just like he was like regurgitating like the Family Guy like Star Wars like episode jokes, like which has made it even more annoying, where I was like, dude, at least bring your own material if you're gonna like do this. So finally I was just like you know, and very discreetly was like, hey man, like do you mind? And he was like, do I mind what? And I was like, you know, like, you know, just, you know, trying to keep it casual, discreet, polite. And so I think he thought he was gonna embarrass me, but like he just like raises his voice like a few like volume notches, and he's like, oh, what, like have you never seen this before? So I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. So I met his volume and then exceeded it by a couple notches, and I was like, I've seen this hundreds of times. If you want to talk over it, fuck off back to your living room. And like I got a bunch of like snickers and like and like raised eyebrows, and his buddy was like, dude, like just giving him the cut that like sign language, and he stopped. And then I felt kind of bad about it like immediately, because like again, I don't like shushing people, like it's embarrassing. And I was like, you know, no what, like he escalated it. I shouldn't feel bad about this, but it felt pretty good. And yeah, I'm sorry.
Think of it this way: you saved the Sunray employees from having to do the same thing.
Well, that was going to be my next step, and I'm like, I don't want to be a snitch. Like there's no reason why you can't just politely be like, hey, like, do you mind? And you know, that can be the end of it. But I'm kind of glad Marianne wasn't sitting next to me, because I think she would have been maybe a little embarrassed. But how do you guys feel about talking in the theaters? Like I've got a pretty high threshold. Like again, like the little whisper here and there, like it doesn't bother me, but I do think like categorically it falls into like, you know, the rude territory, like if you're doing it constantly, right? Like I'm not alone in that.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's like the whole reason you would watch something at home, is to talk through it and make jokes with your friends. Like, because it's not just like the fact that yeah, you're probably gonna be rude to other people, but like that's premium content. I'm not sharing my jokes with everyone. That's
But
You
yeah,
know?
I mean that's exactly right. We go like to the cinema. It's a different experience, right? And like our phones are the other thing that like again, if you're just checking the time or whatever, but like I do get a little irritated like if somebody's like texting on their phone like throughout a movie, like just the light and stuff. But talking I think is the worst offender, especially like when I say it was nonstop for like 20 minutes, like every single beat of like the movie. And it's just like, I can't do this, man. Like, yeah, so that's my little I got into it with somebody at a movie theater story. Have you guys ever shushed somebody at a theater? Like, would you shush somebody at a theater if you haven't?
I've come close. I've definitely there was a actually it's funny you mentioned Star Wars for this because it was definitely I was watching Rogue One when it came out and there was somebody who was just cracking jokes or at least they thought they were being funny sitting like the row behind me. And I think I'd already seen it one time. I went to go see it with another friend afterwards. Or maybe it was the first time, I can't remember which, but it's like during one of the battles that's going on toward the end. And it was very distracting listening to somebody who is like mocking a character on screen while you're trying to be in the moment. And that was probably the closest I've ever come to wanting to tell somebody to shut up. But ended up just kind of like powering through it and eventually they quieted down. So I can't imagine having to sit there for like 20 minutes. I probably would have done the same thing that you did, where it's like yeah, like just be respectful. Like there's certain moments in a film where you can laugh at what's going on and sort of enjoy
Yeah.
like the group vibe that's going on with it, but when you're actively talking, it distracts from what's going on screen, which is the whole point of being there. So it's sort of like, yeah, no, just temper your reactions and everything. Like gasping or clapping or cheering is perfectly fine in moderation, but anything
I
other than
mean,
that.
do it every second. I don't care. Like in Marvel movies, like people clap and cheer, like none of that stuff,
Mhm,
because that's different. That's like a communal
mhm,
experience. Like, yeah. But
mhm.
how about you, May? Have you ever shush somebody, and would you ever shush somebody if you
I don't
haven't?
think I've ever shushed someone, but I have had to deal with someone like putting their feet up on my chair or like
Oh
kicking my
man.
chair. And I have gotten upset at someone for that.
Mhm.
Especially because like if it's a kid, I'm just gonna kind of give the kid stink eye or like try to make a scary face to the kid. I'm not gonna say something. But I've had grown ass adults do that, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
are you serious? Really?
Yeah, no, it kind of shocks me sometimes, like when I see people like behave like that. Again, I have a high tolerance for it, but I am often enough like surprised at like how people will conduct themselves like in a movie theater with stuff. Now here's a little devil's advocate question for you guys before we move on to the side quest. Do
Mhm.
you think that you get more leeway if it's a movie that's like a re-release that's like super popular like Star Wars? Does that change the playing field? Like was I too harsh on the guy? In other words, was he correct in saying like, hey, you've seen this before, like relax?
I don't think it has any bearing to do with it. I think you went to the movie to watch it, and I think anybody else around who is distracting from that experience needs to just respect the fact that it's a communal space and they can turn it down a couple notches. I don't think it matters how many times you see the film. So that's
I'd actually argue the opposite. I feel like I give more leeway to like a first screening of something because it's like, yeah, everyone is reacting to this in real time. And so
hmm.
I'm like, that's probably just you having your genuine reaction. And it's kind of like you said with the Marvel movies, Chris, like a communal experience. Whereas if it's something everyone has seen before, it's like, okay, yeah, that's scripted or you rehearsed that. Like, just be quiet.
Nah.
Yeah. And like we've saw it's not like Star Wars like is like the original like goes like to the theaters all the time. Like we specifically sought that out, to
Mhm.
experience it in a way that you rarely get to, right? Like
Hmm.
so. Hmm, okay. Just wanted to I wanted to take an ego check there and be like, was I just being like an asshole to this guy? Am I the asshole for the Screen Quest what's the word I'm looking for? I almost said communal tribunal. There we go. So
Nice.
Don't worry, I'm very good at telling my friends when they're being assholes. So I'll keep you honest.
perfect. All right. I appreciate
Nice.
that. I did feel a little bit like Larry David because, we've been watching Curb a lot, as I said last episode, I think. And like, I was like, oh, this is like a Larry David thing. I hope it's not going to like go beyond this because, again, my next step was going to be like, shit, now I'm going to have to like get up, go get an employee. This guy's going to make a stink. And like,
Mm.
I didn't want to like make a scene. So I'm glad that telling him to fuck off to his living room was all that it took to make him be quiet. And I did feel bad
Apparently
that I
other
kind
people
of,
liked it too. Yeah.
well, I got to imagine I wasn't the only person that was like annoyed, right? Again, like you're
Yeah.
just gonna spit Family Guy jokes for 20 minutes, like, cool. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna draw us a side quest and see what we get here.
Ooh.
Oh, I should say. So, this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Dirty Pretty Things, which was May's selection. Of course, we'll do our side quest first. I am anxious to get into that though. All right, so it is another neuralizer, which we just had a couple of episodes ago, but I think it's an awesome topic. So this is if you could erase a film from your brain and experience for the first time, which one would you pick and why? I'll let one of you go since I just told a lengthy story about movie theater shenanigans.
So it's not like and this may it's not necessarily like a favorite film, but it is a film where, having watched it when I was younger and the reaction that I had the first time I saw it, I would be interested to see how my reaction would be now had I not known what was going to happen. And for me as a kid, E.T., the extraterrestrial, was like, I don't know, when he popped out of that shed, it scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I did not like watching that film at all. Like, I know a bunch of people that was like a childhood classic, and oh, E.T., he's so cute, look how friendly he is. And I'm like, no, that motherfucker is scary. I do not want to watch this film. And so, but that was just like my gut reaction as a kid for whatever age I was. I don't even remember how young I was when I saw it. But I think if I could go back and watch it now as like a 36-year-old, and especially after having seen so much in terms of like special effects, or in terms of like some of the like suspense films that I've seen now, or the alien films, the actual alien horror movies versus like the friendly aliens that are terrorized by humans films. I think it would be interesting to go back and see how my second take would have been as an adult watching that, because I think it's sort of like on par with a lot of that 80s nostalgia and like Stranger Things, but not like super dark, at least in terms of like nefarious forces outside of humanity trying to affect them. It's more like the childhood aspect, and then also the government that's trying to come in and capture ET, and this, you know, in ET's experience trying to get home to his people. So I think to go back, I'd like to revisit that film, but see how it would be different now.
That's a great one. Do you think part of it maybe was like you were kind of exposed generally to those scarier alien movies, so you just kind of assumed when the alien came on screen it was going to be scary?
Could be. I remember watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind and also being very terrified of the idea of an alien abduction. And so I think
Aw.
for me, that idea of any sort of like extraterrestrial entity coming to Earth was automatically like, it made my radar ping a little bit. Like, no, he's not going to be friendly. Don't let him touch you. So
I'll
that
be
was,
right here.
yeah,
You're like,
the fuck you will, no. So my expletive tirade aside, like I feel like that, yeah, ET, I think it was probably Close Encounters more than ET sort of weirded me out to that idea of like, because there's a scene in Close Encounters where like all the electronics in this one house go haywire and the kid gets abducted and there's the big red light, and I was just like, that to me seemed like also equally terrifying. So I think maybe I just sort of like had those two come together. I mean, that's both Spielberg movies too. So I don't know, man. I mean, I know he does stuff for kids, but maybe I was just at the wrong age or the wrong mindset, or something was not connecting on that. So
I know, I think ET is very scary. Like for it's the sound design, you know,
mhm.
he looks a bit odd, and like there's some like stuff I probably saw that again a few years ago, and
Yeah.
like there's some bits of that that are pretty heavy, like, you know, which was common in the kid movies, like stuff that like, it's, if you haven't seen it in a while, it's worth a watch. Like The Absentee Father completely
Yeah.
fell like, or off my radar as a child, but like was super noticeable, like the family dynamics and things. Even when like, ET turns into like he looks like a shriveled dog turd. He's all white, like laying on the creek bed
Oh,
and stuff, and he's like,
yeah.
and they're like doing all kinds of experiments on him, and yeah, he dies temporarily. Like there's some stuff that's like frightening, and of course, like when he's like shrieking and running around, like
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be scary as fuck. You don't know what this thing is. You're a child. You're like, is he gonna eat these kids now? Like, gonna thirst for blood. They're out of Reese's Pieces or whatever, and now he's going for human flesh. You don't know. Like...
Nice.
Yeah, that's a great
This
pick.
is this is really interesting because I had kind of the opposite experience. I grew up
Mhm.
watching like X-Files and Stargate with my family. And like
Nice.
those like the grays are like the kind of like gray alien like archetype that is what ET looks like in
Mhm.
Stargate, or this like advanced alien race that were super helpful and friendly and like had all this cool tech. And then in X-Files they're kind of like darker and scarier. But
Mhm.
I think when I did finally see ET, I was just disappointed. I was like, well, this is a lame alien. What does he do?
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like amazingly fast for being on little stumpy legs, and he has the ability to heal a kid's cut, and that's about, and I guess levitate. So we've got a few things going on there, but yeah, versus like everything else, like in these other universes of what aliens can do, it does seem pretty tame. Yeah.
So maybe I wish I could zap the other ones from my brain so I could properly
Mm.
appreciate ET.
Oh man. I definitely hear you on Stargate though. As a film, like that film and that soundtrack are amazing. The TV show is great too. It's like very different, but I also appreciated it too. As a very random tangential thought on that, but yes, that would be fun.
I've never seen the TV show, but I love the movie. It's like one of my all-time favorites. There was something so
Mm,
unique about it, you know.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
cool
it was an
universe.
extremely long running TV show. They had all these like spin-offs. My family was obsessed, so I've seen literally every single like thing that that franchise has made.
That's amazing. Like
Nice.
Atlantis, I know, right? There's
Yep.
like
Yep. I
SG1,
actually
Atlantis.
I was a fan of Jason Momoa before everyone else was
Yeah,
because he was in
There you go.
Atlantis.
that's right. Yeah.
Everyone else is a bunch of posers.
Exactly.
He was already auditioning for Aquaman before he knew it. He was, yeah, that's perfect.
Well, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Will. I love that pick.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me relive some of my childhood trauma with you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely putting some clips and some still images in there. So if you go watch the video version now, it's just gonna confront you. I might even just have like a pop-up scare, you know, like
Ah!
to file that away. Just in the middle of you talking, ET's just like screaming. Audio listeners are gonna love that when they're driving in their cars, let me tell you.
Awesome.
Anyway, all right. May, we are here to talk about your pick for our main quest today, Dirty Pretty Things. So why don't you take it away and lead us through the discussion?
Yeah. So Dirty Pretty Things came out back in 2002. It stars Chiwetel Ejiofor as Okwe and Audrey Tutu as Shania, immigrants to London who make a startling discovery about what really happens in the hotel they work at during the night shift. It is a mystery turned thriller, and similar to Knives Out, it inverts a lot of the sort of expectations or conventions of those genres. Um, I'm just going to launch into a really quick plot synopsis before
Please.
we start talking about it. But for those that haven't seen the movie or just want a refresher, quick content warning for sexual violence. It's not super graphic, but there is a lot of it. So just FYI. The movie focuses on two, I think the like English term for them is quote unquote irregular, but basically undocumented immigrants or improperly documented. Living in London, Okwe is from Nigeria, Shania is from Turkey. They're both working in the same hotel and alternate sleeping in the same flat. One night, Okwe discovers a human heart clogging up a toilet in one of the rooms. The hotel manager, Juan, leverages Okwe's immigration status against him when Okwe does try to report the discovered body part, prompting Okwe to begin investigating on his own. While Okwe and Shania are constantly dodging immigration officers, they also uncover an illegal organ harvesting operation within the hotel, led by Juan. In return for passports and the opportunity for a fresh start, Okwei and Shinai agree to take part in the operation, only to drug Juan, harvest his kidney in lieu of Shinai's, and make a clean getaway. So yeah, what were your first impressions? This is the first time for both of you seeing this film, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah,
Well, I'll let you go
what'd you guys
first, Will.
think?
I loved it. Like I really part of me loves it because I've worked in hotels before, and so I always enjoy watching a film that tries to adapt that industry to see whether there's stuff you can nitpick about it, or if there's stuff where you look at it and you think, you know what, actually I could see that. But I also really liked it just because of the suspense. Like I loved the characters. I was invested in what was going to happen. I wanted to know how it was going to turn out, and I felt sort of on edge a little bit throughout the film about how, if it was going to work out, how it was going to work out, what was going to happen, how they were all going to be connected to it. And so just generally, I loved it. And that's, I mean, we could go into specifics in a little bit, but that was my first thought.
Yeah, I felt the same way. At no moment was I ever bored. Like from pretty much moment one, like I was all in. I think it's very artfully done. Like the plot is just like, man, like a lot of stuff happens. The runtime was actually 30 minutes less than what I thought it was. Like I would have swore this was like a 2-hour movie, not because like I felt like I was like bored or anything, just by like how much they pack into that like 97 minutes I think was like the runtime. But yeah, I loved it. The performances were great. I think that it was just really great in Twisty Turny. I initially thought that like, oh, like he's hallucinated this heart because of these like plants, you know, he's having some kind of like mental cognitive
Mhm.
break or something, like kind of Fight Clubby. And I was delighted that no, like the rabbit hole goes really deep, and it is just a bizarre thing that leads to even more terrible and scary things. I love some of the tone shifts too, I will say. Like I think that like it really did a great job navigating like between like humor and like suspense and like terror, and like I mean there's just it had a lot going on. But yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I'm surprised I hadn't like really like seen or heard much about it. Must have just been in that time like where I wasn't going out to see a lot of like serious like, you know, films, and somehow this escaped me, but I'll certainly be telling people about it.
Yeah, I actually watched this film in college several years ago, and I was really happy that rewatching it, like all the characters held up, because to me that was kind of the strongest part, is just no one feels super one-dimensional. I mean, we'll talk more about like Juan, the hotel manager, and he definitely can seem kind of like a he can seem cartoonishly evil at times.
Mhm.
But overall, like everyone's like really fleshed out, and just yeah, lots of interesting characters. I'm particularly fond of Okwei because
Mhm.
it's pretty obvious that in a different, better world, he could be a sort of Sherlock Holmes. He's really smart and driven and capable. You know, also loves stimulants, so that's very Sherlocky.
Yes.
But you know, because of the political instability that made him flee his home country, and you know, the fact that he can't actually operate as a doctor the way he's been trained in London, you know, he's forced to juggle all these odd jobs and fight crime on the side.
Yeah, even as like I mean, you know, even if he was just quote unquote a doctor, like, you know, it's a little bit tragic to imagine like, you know, what could have been there as well. Obviously he's very resourceful, and you know, he shows like bedside manner, and he genuinely cares about the people that he's like treating and stuff. So yeah, his character was just definitely a standout. It took me about half the movie to figure out why I didn't trust Juan before I knew I shouldn't trust Juan. And then I was like, I gotta pause this and see like what else he's been in. Oh, Pan's Labyrinth. Oh, he's that guy. Okay. That makes total
Mm.
sense. Now I know why I don't like him.
I
Anyway,
didn't even realize that. That's a good point. Um, so yeah, just like so like similar to Knives Out, this thing kind of starts out as a mystery, right? You're thrown in the mix with these two interesting characters. They have a nice chemistry, which kind of draws you in, but then Okwei makes that really scary discovery. Um, and you get kind of the answer to that about halfway through the film. Was that what you guys were expecting? I know, Chris, you said that it was you thought that was like a hallucination at first,
Yeah,
but
yeah, like I was like, oh, like his brain is forming these weird like neural pathways. Like he probably found like some like watered up, I don't know, like toilet paper or something, and maybe that's why Juan, like, he handed it to him, was like, oh, there's this heart, and he's like, ah, you're working too hard, but I don't want to embarrass you, so like I'll take this off your hands.
Mhm.
That's what I was expecting at first, just because they show that he's sleep deprived and has a lot on his plate. So I was quite surprised when the reveal was like, oh no, okay, they actually are harvesting organs.
what do you think of the mystery, Will, especially as a former hotelier?
Yeah. One, although nothing super shady like that ever happened at the hotels that I worked at that I'm aware
Sure,
of,
sure it did. Sure.
I could
That you can say on the
definitely,
record.
I know, yeah. I definitely think that shit could happen though, and probably has happened. It's very, in some ways, it's very easy to get away with, and I think that that made it even more interesting in terms of the story to see where that was going to go. My first thought, like, and it sort of was answered as I was watching it unfold. Like, my first thought was, why doesn't Oakway call the cops? And then it's like, oh, he can't because he's going to get busted. And then it's like, why doesn't his night manager care that there's a human heart in this plastic bag? And I'm like, I feel like something's going to reveal itself, or we're gonna, because I'm like, there's got to be a reason why. And I don't think that he's hallucinating. At least I didn't think so at that point. But then slowly, as the film progresses, I thought, well, maybe, because then I thought, the prostitute Juliet, who's there, who kind of tips him off to the problem with the toilet. I'm like, why does she seem to not think it's a big deal? Does she know? Is what's going on with that? And then by the end of it, when they sort of are halfway through and they sort of tie up the loose thread with that and make that connection, then I thought, okay, but still, why would you put it in the toilet? Like, obviously it's not that hard to walk that thing out of the building. The front desk guy put it in a plastic bag and no one seemed to notice. So that was the only thing that I thought was still strange. But for the sake of the mystery and for the sake of sort of that noir feel to it, it's like, that's perfect. I mean, that makes sense for a story. Maybe not logically, but it makes sense to me for the plot. So I thought that was really good. And also, like Chris is talking about too, just sort of throw you to make you think, is this really what I just saw, what he found? Or is this sort of like, are we going to find out there's going to be a twist later with that? So I really liked that part.
It's also a
Yeah.
believable catalyst to make somebody want to know what the fuck's going on. Like, you're not gonna
Mhm.
let that go, are you? If you find a human heart like in a toilet,
Mhm.
like, I feel like, yeah, it's bizarre enough that you'd want to get to the bottom of it.
That's a great
Mhm.
point, and it that actually ties to like one of the things I want to talk about with kind of like how this sits in like a mystery genre. We'll get to the more thriller part of like the last half next, but in terms of like solving that central mystery, generally the person who is kind of like in the detective role in a mystery is someone who's just like unnaturally smart and curious, and they'll see something that seems significant and be like, ah, no, there's more here, and just kind of ignore the police, go out on their own and like uncover some big juicy crime. This is very different because, like I said, it's something you can't really ignore unless
Mhm.
you're willing to turn a blind eye to what seems like was definitely a murder. um and how someone who like is super super smart but also in his current job just kind of an ordinary person would react to that is really interesting. Did you guys see any other ways that like the movie seemed to kind of play with those mystery conventions or stereotypes?
It's not like the classic setup of suspects necessarily, but you do have a small enough cast like there, particularly at the hotel, where like all right, there's something weird going on here. Who's a part of it, who's in the know? um you know like, I think there's some aspects of that for sure.
I mean, truthfully, I thought Juliet was in on it at first. And then when it turned out, it was like, no, that's not really the connection there. I thought, okay, well, because I sort of felt like, well, it could be the seedy manager guy, but then I feel like it's always like that seems too obvious in some respect. And I thought maybe it's not, maybe he's just a jerk, trying to take advantage of the system. But when it did turn out to be him, I thought, well, I mean, it makes sense. And so I could go along with that.
I do think it's interesting that like the law enforcement like characters in this, like, are like the two that stand in for law enforcement really, um are in pursuit of like, people that aren't really guilty or have anything to do with like the actual crime that's the focus, which was kind of an interesting twist a little bit.
Yeah, it's like the convention is for the law enforcement to be on the case, but just bad at doing their job. And this kind of takes us to a new extreme where they don't actually care about the murder. They just want to kick
Mm,
this girl out of the country for, doing a hotel job so she has enough money for her flat.
I'm trying to remember, did they even mention anything about a body being found, or was that at the morgue later? Or was it just like he found that heart and that was like the end of it and the body was just
As far as I
gotten
know,
rid
that's
of?
the only body part that the Oakway and Chennai like discovered. I think he made the connection when he found a man at the hotel who clearly had some kind of a botched surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
So
see
that was
them
sort of what I
literally.
remember. Mhm.
I was gonna say, like, you see them literally walk into a sweatshop and like they're not concerned with anything going there, and like
Mhm.
walk into this hotel that is like an organ harvesting operation and aren't aware of that either. So that they walk into two situations where there's plenty of punishment to be handed out, or maybe like things to look into, and but it's, I think in both cases, like the people that they're exploiting are, people that like they don't care if they get exploited, right? Like you could probably make that argument, and so
Mhm.
there's no interest in pursuing those threads.
And Juan definitely seems to use that to his advantage, right? Because like
Yeah.
the whole setup of his scheme is that he's not necessarily offering money usually. It seems like it's usually a passport, it's the offer of citizenship somewhere. So like he's purposely taking advantage of people and clients that he knows won't call police, if and when something goes wrong.
Yeah, that aspect of this movie was a pretty big bummer. We'll say, like, kind of the further into the film, there was just there's a lot of melancholy, like as you start peeling back the layers of like who like the victims are in the movie, and probably not accidental that this came out a couple years after, well, 1 year after, September 11th. I'm sure
Mhm.
yeah, there was a lot of xenophobia, especially towards like Muslims in the country, and
Yeah.
that was definitely the forefront of my brain as well. Like, man, this is really really sad. Like, these are like good people that just want to like have a normal life and be able to carry on, and they're having to figure out ways to, I think, as Okoye says, like survive, right? There's really no like having like a good life for us. It's just we have to like survive one minute to the next and do what we got to do.
Mm.
Yeah, it the second half of the film, which we can talk about now, turns to more of a thriller because the mystery's been solved, but now we're trying to figure out how Oakway and Shania are going to get out of the situation that they're in. Shania's working at the sweatshop now, with the pervy boss that assaults her, and Oakway is, the manager's basically trying to strong arm him into starting to do these operations. I very much had the same feeling I had watching Uncut Gems during this part because you just watch as both characters get into like worse and worse situations and get more and more desperate, especially when Oakway is just at the point where he says, you know what, I'm not sleeping at all. I was only doing a few hours before, but no sleep ever. Um, Gets very anxiety provoking. Was there a particular moment where you guys were just kind of like glued to your seats, or you felt like the, thriller aspect was really working for you?
I definitely loved the final, I mean, the final sequence. I don't know if we're ready to talk about the finale yet, but I mean that was a highlight for me, like how that unfolded. Like I saw it coming a mile away, but it was no less satisfying knowing like how more or less was going to unfold. And I think having involving all of the players that were that had kind of that shared experience of being immigrants, like, was really really satisfying, seeing them all kind of come together as like a team. The fucked up organ harvesting Ocean's 11 kind of heist, where the heist is for a kidney. But yeah, I think that was the highlight for me for sure.
Yeah, when did you know that they were going to turn the tables on Juan?
As soon as he was like, we'll do it, like when he brought the offer, I was like, he's not the type that's just going to take it. I don't believe for a second that he's going to take a kidney from her. And
Mhm.
as soon as I saw the Dexter like setup of the, the bedroom, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, they are absolutely taking someone's organ. It's like call the kidney guy, but not for me. Like, I was like, this is my only regret was that we didn't get to see him wake up and react to it, but it's okay.
I was wondering if there was going to be a fight in the parking garage when Oakway confronts, or seems like he's about to confront Juan over Shania, and then when he offers to do the surgery on her to make sure that she doesn't die from it with the other guy that Juan had been using, who had butchered it on at least one other person, probably several. That to me, I thought, I don't think that he would really do it, but I'm curious to see how he's going to pull it off to get away. And then as soon as, like Chris was talking about, when you see the setup in the hotel room, and Juan walks over to Shania, who's supposedly knocked unconscious, and then Oakway hands him a bottle of beer, and so like to drink it before he does because he's going to help him supposedly do the surgery. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I can see where this is going. Oh man, I was surprised. I mean, it was very much a good thing that Juan had the passports and handed them over before that happened, because I feel like that whole plan sort of hinged on him coming through and being upfront about that. Because if that hadn't happened, then I don't know what they would have done to get out of it afterwards. But it worked to his favor, and as soon as that happened, I thought, okay, yeah, he's done. Something's gonna happen. So that yeah. But before that, just thinking about like if there was going to be a confrontation before that, because it sort of built up to that previously in another scene where you're not sure if Oakway is gonna, be violent against Juan. He comes really close to doing some damage and then he pulls back. And so I thought maybe this is gonna be it. And you can tell that Juan's expecting it too, because he's got like a crowbar or something, or like a
Right.
wrench or something in his car that you see him tuck into his sleeve. And so I thought, yes, all right, here we go. And then it was like, nope, hold on for just a little bit longer and you'll get some comeuppance in it. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I feel bad. I did not catch on until Oakway was like asking him like, "Hey, so where do we drop this off after?" That's when I realized that the hotel manager was not going to see the end of this transaction.
Yep.
Just I feel like that was a great persuasion check on Oakway's part. Sleight of hand, deception, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I guess overall, or like specifically with that ending, how did the film work for you as a thriller? And you can compare it to Hitchcock if you want or not, but I know you probably will, Waterman, but
Absolutely.
Master.
I mean, the heart is definitely a MacGuffin, right? Like
Oh
it
yeah.
is something that we don't really unless I am, I missed it. We don't really get the full explanation of the story behind that, like who, what, when, where, why, how, that kind of thing. It's more or less the catalyst that leads us down the path. But no, it worked really well as a thriller to me. Like I thought it was better as a thriller than it was as a mystery. Like personally, I think that's where I got even more invested. Is like once the mystery was solved and it came down to like, oh shit, what's gonna happen, right? And I think all the character building that happens in the first half of the film makes the second half of the film work really, really well. Yeah, I think there were just some really, really masterful sequences. Like I said, I mean, the end in particular like stood out, but yeah, it's successful. It's not conventional, but I think that's what makes it, work even better. Is that like you don't really it doesn't unfold the way that you would normally expect like a thriller to.
I really loved the last part where they're in the airport
Yeah.
and they have that moment together. I mean, that to me really hit me emotionally. Like when she's about to walk off and she mouths "I love you" to him and he says it back, and I thought, you nailed it. You stuck the landing. It was so good. And just like their relationship throughout the entire film was interesting, and how they learned about each other and dealt with the same sort, well, similar issues, different trauma to get to the resolution that they wanted, or at least the resolution they thought was going to help deal with what they had gone through. I mean, part of me, I mean, it ends on an uplifting note for both of them, but part of me also felt like, man, that's really taking a risk that you're not going to end up getting into the same stuff that you don't. I mean, there's going to be trouble again. Like, you're going to have more to deal with wherever you're going. But at least in that moment, they both had some sense of peace or some sense of resolution to everything that they had been dealing with where they were, which they knew was not going to work out. And so for Oakway, where it was like just constantly staying distracted, doing these jobs, running his body to the extreme, and finally deciding it was time to go back home. And or with Shania thinking that her dream of being free was to go to the United States. I thought, I mean, I hope, I really hope that works for you, but I also know that may not get you out of what you're dealing with here, depending on where you go. So, but yeah, no, that scene in the airport was great, and I thought really it wrapped everything up in a way that you felt hopeful for the characters at the end.
You see them grow a lot for an action-packed hour and a half movie, truly.
Mhm.
And yeah, I definitely loved the ending, how they stuck that. And you kind of see Okoye like finally open up to her a bit, but like obviously not in the way she quite wants. She wants this big romantic gesture, and he can't do that, but he is at least honest with her finally about his family and his daughter. And she kind of acknowledges that you know, her dreams aren't always realistic, and I'm not gonna say loses her innocence, because I think a lot of her innocence is taken from her, but I think kind of like acknowledges that, she understands the world a bit better than Okoye thinks she does. Um, and yeah, it was beautiful to see them grow together. I'm so glad they didn't shoehorn like a romance between them.
Mhm.
Um, because it's like, yeah, they do love each other, but it feels like a very kind of like, bonds forged in fire, uh, primarily like platonic love. And yeah, no, I love them and their dynamic. I think that's kind of the heart that gets you through the film, because I think the only thing I don't like about it is some of the dialogue can be like a little heavy-handed, or a little clunky, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, but their interactions are just so genuine, and really kind of the only sunshine in this very dark story. And I think that's, for me, what got me through it. I can't speak to how normal that is or isn't in a thriller, but it's what kept me invested and made me stay, despite like my heart thundering in my chest, wondering how things were going to go for them, particularly with that final kidney heist.
The kidney heist. I love that we're calling it the kidney heist. It's accurate though.
It is.
You got a lot of players, a lot of moving parts. Yeah, I mean, I think like you got to have a sympathetic, or at least interesting like protagonist for a thriller. Sympathetic is always better.
Mhm.
It makes, whether it's a happy ending or not a happy ending, it makes the payoff better. So you think like Brad Pitt in Seven, like what happens there at the end of that movie. I'm not going to spoil it, since like it's
Mhm.
not one we're talking about today. So if you've not seen that, like um there's a conclusion there, and they do a lot of setting up for that payoff to happen, so that's all I'll say. I'm being very careful not to like
Mhm.
give details there. A lot of definitely like classic thrillers, so like I mentioned Hitchcock. I want to point out you're the one that said it first, so you open that door, May. There usually is a coupling, but I think that was more of like a sign of the times than anything else, right? Like you had a male lead, a woman lead, and like there was a coupling. Like that's just how it had to go down most of the time, for that kind of film. But I agree with you 100%. I think having their bond be something outside of just like romantic love did make it more that they had so much more room to maneuver some of those interpersonal relations without just being like, oh, like they're a couple, they're in like romantic love with each other. There was like almost like a deeper caring. I think like it was a much more human sort of bond than I think if they had fallen in love throughout the course of the movie. Now you're trying to resolve that by the end, right? I think it felt more human to me. somehow.
Yeah, the undefined nature of it. If either of them had asked, "What are we?" I think I would have thrown my popcorn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's basically it for my questions. Do you guys have any final thoughts or strong opinions on whether this is a good homage to the genre or a twist on the genre?
Oh, I mean, I will just say it's for me it's fantastic. Like
Mhm.
this was a great Sunday morning watch for me. I watched it first thing this morning with breakfast, and it is entertaining, it's shocking, and I think this is a very successful thread. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, except for maybe Four Rooms, which is a completely different tone, but that is also a film set in a hotel. Are you guys either of you familiar with Four Rooms?
No.
Okay,
I don't
so
think so.
it is four interconnected short films, two of which are directed by Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. And Tim Roth is like the bellboy that connects all of them, and he's just fucking over it, like the entire movie. And you kind of start putting the threads together. Each of the aforementioned four rooms are hotel rooms with like different guests, and so there's like a different story, and each of the films has like a distinctly kind of different feel from one another. So it reminded me of that in a way, like using I think hotel is such a great setting, and I love the discussion of like, the where the title comes from.
Mm-hmm.
People come in here, they do dirty things, and then we pretty it back up.
Mhm.
That was fabulous for me, and I think, yeah, I really love this movie.
Kind of off the same way too, just thinking about how it was refreshing to watch a film that was about people that are often overlooked. And because of the fact that it's even like one of the lines that Okoye has at the very end, which is a great, like, his little mini monologue, sort of couple of lines where he says something to the effect, and I'm going to have to pull that quote up because I am not going to butcher it. So give me one moment.
I think scissor like the invisible ones or something like that. But yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
where I'm like,
I did take a little umbrage with it because it was a bit Fight Clubby, like, which was predates
Mhm.
this. There's a similar speech that Tyler Durden gives, and it soured for me a little, just a tiny bit, because I was like, that's what he says to the guy, more or less. But it does have more
Yeah.
impact coming from, like, the context in this film. I wish this had come out sooner so I could get mad at Fight Club for ripping it off, because I like how it plays here better. But yeah.
Oh
Love
yeah.
this.
So it was when the yes, during the organ heist, when the I guess when the guy, their contact, shows up in the parking garage and says, like, how come I've never seen you guys before or seen you people before, is actually, I think, what he says specifically. And Okoye mentions to him, because we are the people you do not see. We're the ones who drive your cabs, we clean your rooms, and suck your cocks. And then Juliet immediately like raises her hand and has a little smirk on her face. And I busted up laughing. I thought, that is great. That is awesome. But I mean, it's sort of really just like the point of the entire, the film, where it's like all of the struggle that's happened is because this is just dealing with an aspect of society that, unfortunately, for people that are immigrants who are undocumented because of whatever circumstances they're dealing with, and they have to figure out how to solve these problems outside of traditional means. And that, thinking about, and not just, and I know I mentioned working in hotels before, but sort of just like thinking about people in customer service in any sort of respect. So whether we're talking hospitality or we're talking I guess it
Retail.
just any retail is perfect. Yeah, any sort of retail environment, or um, just business to consumer situation where you are offering a service, and as the customer, you don't necessarily know how it all happens. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you're not meant to see, whether it's to keep up the facade of what product you were purchasing, or experience that you are purchasing as well. Um, and so it's nice to sort of to see it from the other side, to see it from the perspective of like all the characters in this, with the exception of the guy who picks up the organs, or the doctors in the hospital that you see for just a couple of seconds, or I feel like there's the immigration folks that show up to try and get Shania. You don't see any other traditional like English characters. It's all just experiencing what it's like for these immigrants in their society, and I thought that was great. I mean, you get Gui, who's working at the morgue. Then you've got the interaction between him and Oakway and their bond and how they share their, the experiences that they've had. And it's just, I know this is like a really long-winded answer to it, but I really enjoyed seeing that aspect because I thought it was very powerful and tied back to that idea of, it's the people that you don't see and that it's their struggle to get through. So yeah, I loved it. I loved that scene in particular and everything that built up to it.
Beautiful. I recommended this, so it's pretty obvious where I'm going to land. I think this is a great mystery and thriller. It has this kind of unreality to it at times that like I don't think I ever thought anyone was like necessarily hallucinating, but it does feel kind of like between the pacing and even some of the like lighting and coloring like used in the film, it does have this kind of like fever dream quality to it.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot, and I think that it does help show just kind of how crazy and unrecognizable this lifestyle would be for anyone who hasn't had to live it. Hasn't had to juggle multiple jobs while also like running from immigration authorities and trying to keep your moral compass about you when everyone is attempting to kind of manipulate your status and the things that put you on the margins of society to get things out of you. And it's just a really tough way to live. And I thought it was cool that this offers great insight to that while also telling a really interesting, thrilling crime story at the same time. And I can't remember who said this. I think it was someone in our friend group, Chris, but it's a piece of media that is basically kind of like it's inseparable from the diversity that is basically built into it. It's like both are required to tell this story. The people it talks about as well as the actual story that's being told, and they work together and make it a much more powerful story. So I
Wholeheartedly
love it.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Like thanks for the pick, and a shout out to Stephen Frears, the director. I was looking back through his filmography. So Dangerous Liaisons I've heard of, but like I've never seen. I know it's like a big old sexy movie. But High Fidelity, which is like one of Marianne and I's like favorite like early 2000s essentially like rom-com but real offbeat, couldn't be any more different than this, and that was made around the same time. I mean, a couple of years difference. So this director has a lot of range. And then Philomena I see like down there, which I think was a kids movie. So interesting stuff here.
Oh wow, yeah, I hadn't even looked.
But no, I agree. I totally agree on your point with the, it's such a smart choice. I think just to tell this story the way that it was told, like with the actors, like just I mean, it's brilliant for sure.
All right, you guys want to play a game?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got the usual keyword countdown set up. I tried to go for some range with this.
And shout out, of course, to Gav Murphy of RKG, who created Keyword Countdown and has thankfully been kind enough to allow us to play it on the show. So, thank you, Gav.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, for our first film, the first keyword is a long one. It is a color remake of black and white film.
Psycho.
No. Can't get Hitchcock out of your brain, can you?
It's just like it's the first thing that pops to mind because that was the only reason they did it, was they didn't feel like modern audiences would watch a black and white, so they remade it shot for shot color.
Wow.
And it's so pointless. It's not bad, it's just pointless.
All right. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I got nothing right now. I feel like
Okay.
there's something else in the back of my brain, but I can't think of the title. So
All right. Second keyword is deadpan. So
Pink
color,
Panther.
no.
No, that was the original wasn't in black and white anyway. Never mind.
Color remake of a black and white film, deadpan.
True Grit. No.
No.
Definitely not deadpan, but
Okay. Third keyword, 1980s.
A Star is Born? No, that can't be it.
No. Good guess though.
so it's the 80s is when this was remade, or it's the 80s was
That's the
when
keyword attached to it.
yes, yeah. So,
Is my non-answer.
yeah. Just double checking. I got a little thrown off there.
I'm with Will. I've got a little tickle there, but
Yeah.
All right. Fourth keyword, food poisoning.
Mm.
oh man. Food poisoning. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts. But no.
Mhm. Yeah, got nothing.
All right. So to recap, we got color remake of black and white film, deadpan, 1980s, food poisoning. The new keyword is absurd comedy.
Oh, dude.
The producers.
No.
Yeah, I feel like that was not black and white. Mel Brooks has been around for a while, but I feel like that's probably not.
Father of the Bride?
No.
Like the original. Well, the Steve Martin might have been 1990 or something. So yeah.
The
All right.
80s, man, it's throwing me off.
I know, me too.
This next keyword may help. It is glue sniffing.
What? Oh, airplane?
Yes.
Oh, what?
Oh man.
Good job,
because
Chris.
I don't know. It all does
Yeah.
make sense now. That's amazing.
The other keywords were dream, breaking the fourth wall,
Hmm,
stewardess, and airplane crash.
nice.
Food poisoning, god damn it. All right.
I picked hard ones on that.
No, I know, but like that should have been like a huge clue because like isn't the whole thing like who didn't eat the fish or
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
All right. Good job, Chris. You're on the board with 5 points. Next up, our film's first keyword is Left 4 Dead.
The Revenant.
No. Good guess.
Kill Bill Volume 1.
Also good guess.
Just watched it last night, so it's in my brain.
Any guesses, Will?
I'm gonna get the number wrong on it, but wasn't there a film with like 147 hours, or I won't get the right number of it, so I can't necessarily speak to that being the right answer or not.
It is not 147 hours.
Okay.
And it's
Or
27. You're close.
148 hours.
Or
All
hours
right.
of any kind.
Second keyword is international cooperation.
No.
No.
All right. Third keyword is potato.
I'm sorry, did you say potato?
I did.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers?
No,
You got it.
but that is a fantastic guess.
I mean, Aragorn gets thrown off the cliff and the horse.
That would have
International
worked,
cooperation, Rohan, Gondor, come on.
yeah. I was one step behind saying that with you, buddy. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because that was like, wait, potato?
I did say that in kind of a Samwise manner.
It was a little quiet. I was like, yeah. Nice.
All right. Fourth keyword, disco music.
Oh.
Shaft?
No.
Never seen it, so I guess that's more funk, but
You know what? I'm just gonna start throwing stuff out there just for shits. Mamma Mia.
I guess all of the various like ex-boyfriends coming together was international cooperation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was left for dead, but
The relationship clearly.
great guess, but no. All right. Fifth keyword is food shortage.
Oh, sure this works. The Martian?
Correct. Good job, Chris.
Oh, nice.
I had to go through real quick. I was like, I don't want to, because it sounds mad to like Left 4 Dead and disco music. So I'm like, hold on.
And potatoes, because that's what he was so excited to make. I can't
Yeah.
believe I didn't think of it. Damn it. Not
Yeah.
Samwise, Matt Damon.
The other keywords would have been storm, rover, space habitat, astronaut, and Mars the planet.
Do you believe we
At
would have
that
gotten that on
point,
Clue
it's like a
10?
gimme. Yeah.
So great job.
Nice.
Chris, you have 11 points, and Will, you could still take them. You could still take them.
Nice.
All to play for, buddy.
All right. Your third movie, first keyword is artificial intelligence.
Well, we could throw out the one that we're I feel like the one we're all thinking about right now, but no.
Do it.
AI.
That'd be awesome. Correct. 10 points.
It is not, but great guess.
Terminator.
No, but also a good
Terminator.
guess.
Terminator 2. The Terminator.
Just
Terminator
list them all.
I'm gonna, I mean, man, it's a pretty big again, anything's gonna be shot in the dark. Short Circuit.
Oh, that would
No.
be amazing. Oh,
Johnny Five is alive, baby.
that's right.
All right. Second keyword, original story.
Alien.
No. Good try.
I had something and it's gone. It may come back.
Third keyword, letter read aloud.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
No.
I don't remember a letter, but everything else seemed to fit. So
That is the plot point that you missed on the episode we did. That was the HAL 9000, the inclusion of an AI character.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
that was a Ring doorbell, actually.
Yeah, it does look like a ringtone. Yeah, I got nothing for this.
All right, all right. Your fourth keyword is crying.
I can't think of the name of the film, but I know the actors that are in it, and it may not even be the right one. But that won't count, so never mind.
Keep turning it over in your head, Will.
Bicentennial Man.
Aw,
No, but I love that film.
that movie's great. R.I.P. Robin Williams.
I know. All right. So far you've had artificial intelligence, original story, letter read aloud, and crying. Now bringing you the fifth keyword, future.
Future?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it Deus Ex Machina? Is that the?
That is a great guess, but no.
Oh,
Blade Runner.
No.
Don't think there was a letter in that one. Come to think of it. But Tears and Rain, it's like a crying. Future.
True. True.
Dope.
All right. All right. Your sixth keyword is divorce.
oh, jeez.
Oh, why is this really ringing a big time?
Her.
And William Rotondi is on the board.
Eh,
Man,
good
yes.
job, man. I've not seen
Ah.
her actually. So.
Oh my gosh, what an emotional roller coaster. That movie made me sad for days. I have not had a movie make me feel that depressed about a relationship since actually having like a really shitty relationship end. Like,
Oh,
or not shitty
I
relationship, like a relationship end. But man, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm impressed you finished it. I have tried to watch this with Patrick on 2 different occasions, and we have both fallen asleep both times.
Oh, what? Wow.
Wow.
So
This
we have
goes to
not finished
show
it.
different mindsets, man. Different mindsets. That is all right.
It's just it is sad, but it's such a slow burn sad. We would just fall asleep before it got to anything actually intense.
Yep. Oh man.
Anyway, great job, Will. All right.
Thanks.
Coming
Thanks for
back.
letting me relive some more trauma. That's cool.
Well, that's what we're
Motion
here for.
motion to
Yeah.
rename the podcast just traumatizing Will.
I know.
Traumatizing
This
Will.
is we're working through our feelings today, guys. Last week it was
Scream
Marvel.
Quest.
Yeah,
is what we
Scream
call
Quest, yeah.
Oh, we should call it Scream Quest for like our October episodes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Nailing it.
Gotta do a
Okay,
new
okay.
background though. The board.
Oh,
Oh, we
I'm
got
sure.
this.
I'm sure Will's got us on that.
We got
All
this. Canva.
Back to the game. You haven't finished your comeback yet, Will.
I mean, look, I got on the board. I don't care about anything else.
How
at
many
this
points did
point.
Will get? Just so I know, like what my margin of
So
safety is.
we are standing at Chris has 11 points, Will has 5.
Okay.
I'll end this happy on 5, just FYI. So I'm just in this to shoot the breeze. So we're good.
All right, your next film. Your first keyword is based on a comic book.
Batman. The Batman.
Watchmen.
Great guesses, both wrong.
The Phantom.
No.
Sin City.
Mm-mm.
Hit us with another.
All right. Number 2, Vacation Gone Wrong. Okay. Number 3, Escape.
From the Vacation that's gone wrong.
The Beach. I don't know if that was based on a comic, but it's a banger movie.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that vacation part's really bugging me.
Same.
But I got nothing.
All right. All right. Number 4, Dog.
There's always the dog.
I love dogs.
No, but
Ooh.
good guess.
Yeah.
Don't know if that was a comic either, but
All right. So far we have based on comic book, Vacation Gone Wrong, Escape, and Dog. Your next keyword is coded message.
message. What is this?
I feel like this is especially frustrating for Chris because he has so many comics that it's like
They're all Batman comics for the most part. Some Superman, some Marvel stuff, but yeah. Gosh. It's Tintin? Adventures of Tintin?
oh man, if that's it, I'm gonna be pissed.
It is not. Sorry.
I've not seen it, so it's
That's a great
Just a
guess though, because hands down, that is an amazing guess. I don't know about
That
where the
is.
vacation part would have come in there. I'm sure he went on one at some point and got
Yeah, I
looped
know.
into some treasure hunt because that always happened. But man, I'm glad you mentioned that.
All right. Your next keyword is climbing a cliff.
To escape from the vacation that went wrong. That might have a dog.
Vacation. Oh my god. No.
Shall I continue?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Torture us.
I also have a hint I could give that is not a
Mm.
keyword.
No.
Okay.
Nah.
Okay. Doctor. So you have based on comic book, vacation gone wrong, escape, dog, coded message, climbing a cliff, and doctor.
Was the island of Dr. Moreau based on a comic?
I have no idea, but that is not the answer.
Okay.
There's a H.G. Wells novel I know with that. Dr. Doolittle.
No.
Oh, dude, this is gonna bug the shit out of me.
I can promise you'll get it by the end.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, you guys want the next one?
Yes, please.
So you've had based on comic book, vacation gone wrong, escape, dog, coded message, climbing a cliff, and doctor. Your next one is an ethical medical experiment.
The Island.
No.
Also a movie I've never seen, but yeah. Cool medical experience.
I can guarantee you have both heard of this film also.
Spring Breakers.
No.
I'm just like just shouting random.
Nice. Yeah, at this point, you might as well, right? We're just like, I think that was right.
Hostel would be my only other guess, and then
No.
I got no more.
Do you guys want the ninth keyword?
Yes.
Okay. Beach.
By the cliff.
It's the beach.
Beach.
The beach. I'll say it for a second.
No,
time.
no.
Lilo and Stitch.
You know what? That actually does fit, but that's not it.
So I win by
Damn.
default, right?
Yeah, I think this entire time I've had like an island, like jungle kind of thing, but like in my brain. But
You guys will get it on this 10th one. Let me know if you want it.
Jurassic Park.
No.
Okay.
yeah, might as well.
Okay. Rapid aging.
Oh, what? It's that movie that I don't know the name for, but it's
Old?
dumb.
Yes. Chris got the point.
Jeez, yeah.
Shyamalan.
Yep.
I was going to say, you guys are thinking too much about that comic book hint because it's based on like an indie comic book. It's not
see.
Marvel. Yeah.
No, I thought like that's why I was like 10-10. Like it's like this doesn't sound superhero-y.
Yeah.
But yes, it is. M. Night Shyamalan's old.
Is it? Well, okay. So just, and this is just, and I'm not to bash Shyamalan. This is like a legitimate question. Just out of curiosity, how close to the comic is old? So because I've never seen it, and the reason that I ask is I know that he took Avatar: The Last Airbender and made it into one of the worst films of all time. So is it loosely based, or is it pretty
He
close
took
based
some
on what-
liberties. I also just think it's a comic that doesn't translate super well to film because it is very surreal, very metaphorical, and I don't think the realism in the film version works.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Would be my take. But this,
Ah.
this is not a comics podcast. This is a film podcast, and we have one more. So
And we will keep to the schedule.
Your first keyword, and to recap scores, Will, you can still catch Chris, okay?
Noise. Oh,
He is only at 12. You are at 5.
nice.
So your first keyword for this last film is based on play.
My Fair Lady.
No, but good guess.
The Lion King.
Fantastic guess, but no.
Oh,
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
No,
The Producers again.
also no.
Last one, Rent.
No.
Oh, Chicago.
No.
Just naming musicals like
Okay. This is going to help you guys narrow things down real fast. Second keyword, 18th century.
The Importance of Being Earnest.
No.
The Crucible.
No.
That's probably earlier than 1800s.
18th century, so that's
So-
1700s.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh. Whoops.
All right. Third keyword, voice over narration. My favorite thing, as you guys know.
Yeah.
From Blade Runner. Man. Ooh. Ah. Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. Fourth keyword, rivalry.
The Patriots? No.
No.
Mhm. Amistad? Or not Amistad. What's the Amadeus?
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, nice.
You got it.
Hey,
Excellent. I haven't seen that in a long time. That's a good.
never seen it. Believe it or not.
The very next keyword was cleavage, followed
Yeah.
by tragic event, genius, opera, composer, and Vienna, Austria.
Noise.
Awesome. As a side note, I think that's a great short story title. Cleavage followed by tragic events. Jot that down. Expect to see that on your
My
weekly
newsletter.
newsletter. Mhm.
Alrighty, so Chris is our champion at 19 points.
All right.
Will had a solid
Congratulations.
Will had a solid 5 on the board.
Nice.
Well
I'll
played,
take it.
sir.
Hey, likewise.
Woo!
Right. Well, let's find out what we are watching next, shall we?
Yes.
All right. Give these a little shuffle. And it is another you've never seen.
Nice.
Let me go to my list here.
If it's that one, I'm gonna scream.
It is 2001: A
Yeah!
Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
Oh,
Only a week
amazing.
late.
Only a week late, but hey, you know what? Like we've had so many like great little bits of coincidence and fun here. So, and again, no cuts. You saw me shuffle the cards. That's just what happens.
All
Great.
right, let's strap in.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is gonna be great.
It's going to be quite exciting. I'll be very interested to hear the takes. My one piece of advice, and this comes from personal experience: do not watch this movie if you're in any way, shape, or form sleepy. May, like this is one I would do first thing in the morning, cup of coffee. Not because it's boring, but like it has some of the most gorgeous like space photography and lots of classical music. Like it will like lull you to sleep. It's sparse on dialogue at times too. So
Okay.
take it from me. Like make sure you choose your time wisely. But
I will
very
brew a
excited.
mocha pot prior.
It's true.
Amazing.
Caffeination and budget your time because it's a long one.
Not too bad. I think it's like 2 hours, maybe 20-30 minutes. Like but it can feel a bit long. And now you finally get to oh, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say after the Deer Hunter, nothing feels like a long movie.
It's
Nice.
I'm not gonna say if it's on our list of
Drama.
selections, but Barry Lyndon, if you ever want to give that a go.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I think this might be our first Kubrick movie on the podcast, so I'm very,
I
very
think you're
excited.
right.
Excellent. So, May, now you'll get to see how close you were in terms of your idea of what this film was, how it lines up with that. And you know what? If you want to pitch a revision of it, I mean, I'm sure that it may not happen, but
Kubrick is a famously open to criticism director.
Sure, yeah, and remaking his stuff, absolutely. So I think,
he's dead though. He's not gonna care. He's long gone. He's worm
unless
food.
I was gonna say unless there's like family or the studio that's just like kind of like the James Bond thing is like very much like controlled in that aspect, where if you're trying to remake it, that they would have like an issue with it. Sure, just go ahead, just pitch it. Just be like, we're gonna reboot this.
What could go wrong? Well,
with this version.
I will be live tweeting as I watch it.
Please.
Nice.
You can just find out what those damn dirty apes are up to.
That's right. We could supply you with those images again if you need to like compare and
Oh, I
contrast.
got him saved in the chat. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, hey, as always, thank you both for a lovely Sunday afternoon of shooting the shit, talking about movies. Thank you, listeners, for hanging in there with us. Of course, we appreciate all the support as always. Interact with us on social media at ScreenQuest Pod on Twitter, and be on the lookout for our Friday film polls and other random tweets that pop into our brains. But until next week, we love you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.